The auction house fell silent when they dragged her onto the platform. Kira Voss had been to 100 of these grey market sales across the fringe, looking for salvage parts and cheap labor contracts for his repair shop. He'd never seen a Velanthi before, not in person. Their kind didn't end up in places like this. Their kind ruled entire star systems. But there she was. Tall, impossibly so, with skin like polished obsidian and silver markings that traced her cheekbones like frozen lightning. Her wrists were bound in suppression cuffs, the kind that blocked neural implants and psionic resonance. Her eyes, twin pools of molten gold, stared at nothing. Not defeated. Empty. Lot 47, the auctioneer announced, his voice bored. Velanthi female. No documentation. No lineage verification. Sold as is. Opening bid, 10 credits. A murmur rippled through the crowd. 10 credits for a Velanthi was an insult so profound it circled back to being a joke. Kira watched as a Dromax slaver raised his appendage, the type who ran the underground fighting pits on Nexus 9. 10 credits. 12, Kira said. He didn't know why he said it. The word just came out, pushed by something in his chest that he'd thought died with his daughter 3 years ago, on a colony ship that never reached its destination. The Dromax turned, all 6 eyes narrowing. Human. Die. You don't want this one. 12 credits, Kira repeated. The auctioneer waited. The Dromax made a sound like grinding metal, disgust probably, and lowered his appendage. No one else bid. Why would they? A Velanthi without documentation was worthless. Worse than worthless. She was a political liability, a mystery that could bring Imperial investigators down on anyone stupid enough to own her. Sold to the human. 12 credits. Kira walked to the platform, transferred the credits, nearly all he had left after last month's docking fees, and received a simple biometric chip that registered temporary ownership. The guard shoved her forward. She stumbled, caught herself with a grace that seemed bone deep, and looked at him for the first time. Why? Her voice was like wind through crystal caves, beautiful and cold. Kira removed the suppression cuffs. His hands were steady even though his heart wasn't. Because nobody should be sold for 10 credits, he said. I bought her freedom for 12 credits. That's 3 more than you're worth to them. But we both know that's a lie. She stared at him. Something flickered in those golden eyes, confusion maybe, or the first crack in whatever wall she'd built to survive this. You are either very foolish, she said, or very dangerous. Mostly just broke, Kira admitted. Come on, I've got a ship. It's not much, but it's got a working heater and nobody's going to put cuffs on you there. She didn't move. You expect nothing in return? I expect you to tell me your name. Eventually, when you're ready. He turned and walked toward the exit, not looking back. After a long moment he heard her footsteps following. The ship was called the Margoti, named after his daughter. It was a heap of welded-together salvage that somehow still flew, held together by Kira's stubbornness and about 40 kilometers of replacement wiring. He'd been living in it for 2 years, running repair jobs across the fringe, staying one step ahead of debt collectors and memories. She stood in the cargo bay taking in the cluttered mess of spare parts and half-finished projects and said nothing. Crew quarters are through there, Kira pointed. It's just a cot and a privacy screen, but it's yours. Galleys to the left. Showers to the right. Water recycler's been acting up, so keep it short. You give me a room, she said slowly. On your ship. Where you sleep. I sleep in the cockpit most nights anyway. You are not afraid I will kill you? Kira considered this. Are you going to? I have not decided. Fair enough. He moved to the galley, started pulling out ration packs. When you decide, let me know. I'd like to finish dinner first. She watched him prepare 2 meals, protein paste and rehydrated vegetables, nothing special, and set one on the small table bolted to the floor. Sit, he said. Eat. You look like you haven't had a real meal in weeks. Velanthi do not require. Everyone requires food. Sit. She sat. They ate in silence. Kira didn't push. He'd learned in the years since Margot died that some silences needed to exist. That sometimes people, or beings that looked like people, needed space more than they needed words. When she finished, she set down the utensils with precise, deliberate movements. Vaelith, she said. Kira looked up. My name. It is Vaelith. Kira Voss. He extended his hand, an old human custom. She stared at it for a long moment, then reached out and touched her fingertips to his palm. Her skin was cool, smooth as glass. You are strange, Kira Voss, she said. So I've been told. 3 days into their journey to nowhere in particular, Vaelith finally spoke more than single sentences. Kira was elbow-deep in the water recycler when she appeared in the engineering bay, silent as a ghost. He'd gotten used to that, the way she moved without sound, the way she watched him like she was trying to solve an equation that didn't quite add up. You were a soldier, she said. It wasn't a question. Kira kept working on the recycler. Colonial Defense Force, 12 years. Got out after. He stopped, tightened a coupling that didn't need tightening. After your daughter. His hands stilled. You went through my personal files? Your ship speaks her name when it powers on. The photograph in the cockpit. The way you look at the stars like you're searching for something you know you will never find. Vaelith moved closer, her bare feet silent on the metal grating. I did not need files. Kira pulled his hands out of the recycler, wiped them on his pants. She was 6, colony transport got hit by raiders. I wasn't there, couldn't save her, and so you save others instead. I fix things, he said. That's all, you fix broken things. Vaelith's voice had shifted, lost some of its cold edge. Broken ships. Broken systems. Broken women sold at auction. You're not broken. You do not know what I am. Kira finally looked at her, really looked. In the harsh light of the engineering bay, he could see what he'd missed before. The silver markings on her skin weren't decorative. They were scars, dozens of them, tracing patterns that spoke of deliberate, systematic cruelty. Those marks, he said quietly. They did that to you, my own people. She turned slightly, showing him the pattern that ran down her neck. I was High Princess of the Velanthi Ascendancy. Third in line to the eternal throne. Then my father died, my brother took power, and I became inconvenient. They tortured their own princess, they tried to break me, to make me renounce my bloodline, accept dishonor, become nothing. Her golden eyes met his. I refused. For 4 years I refused. So they sold me to the slavers with no documentation, a princess made into garbage. Kira felt something twist in his chest. Not pity, she wouldn't want that. Something else. Recognition, maybe. The understanding of what it meant to lose everything and still keep standing. Your brother sounds like he needs a visit from Colonial Defense. My brother commands a fleet of 3,000 warships, so that's a no then. For the first time, Vaelith's lips curved, not quite a smile, but close. You jest about attacking an empire. I jest about a lot of things. Keeps me from thinking too hard about the rest. She was quiet for a moment. Then, why do you truly help me, Kira Voss? You must want something. I want the water recycler to work. He turned back to the machinery. And I want to not eat dinner alone every night. That's about as complicated as my wants get these days. You are lying. Maybe. But it's a comfortable lie. He glanced back at her. You wanted to help? Hand me that hydro spanner. The one with the blue grip. She stared at him. Then slowly, she reached for the tool and placed it in his hand. The fingers brushed and she didn't pull away immediately. You treat me as an equal, she said. As if I am not Velanthi. As if I am not royalty. You're not royalty right now. Right now, you're crew. He went back to work. Crew helps with repairs. Crew eats together. Crew doesn't have to explain themselves unless they want to. And what does crew do when they cannot sleep? The question came out softer than anything she'd said before. When the memories come. Kira paused. Crew sits in the cockpit and looks at the stars. Sometimes crew talks about nothing. Sometimes crew just sits. That sounds acceptable. Tonight then. After dinner. I'll show you the view from the observation deck. It's the one thing on this ship that actually works right. She nodded once, that almost smile still ghosting her features, and left as silently as she'd come. That night they sat together in the darkness of the observation deck watching distant suns burn against the void. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Some understanding had passed between them. Two broken people, floating through space, beginning to believe that broken didn't mean finished. Vaelith's hand rested on the console between them. At some point, without thinking, Kira's hand moved to rest beside it. Their fingers didn't touch, but they were close enough to feel each other's warmth. It was enough. For now, it was enough. The attack came 3 weeks later on a routine supply run to Helion Station. Kira had just finished negotiating for fuel cells, overpriced, but the Gay Margoti was running on fumes, when his comm crackled with Vaelith's voice. Kira, all. Ships incoming. 3 vessels. Velanthi configuration. His blood went cold. Get to the cockpit. Prep for emergency burn. He ran. By the time he reached the Imargoti, Vaelith had the engines warming. Through the viewport he could see them. 3 sleek cruisers, their hulls marked with the golden spiral of the Velanthi Ascendancy. They found me. Vaelith's voice was calm, but her hands trembled on the controls. My brother sent hunters. Can we outrun them? No. Velanthi ships are faster, more maneuverable. They will catch us within the hour. Kira dropped into the pilot's seat, pulling up tactical displays. She was right. The math was brutal, simple. 3 military vessels against 1 salvage ship held together by hope and wire. Then we don't run. He started plotting a course. The Kareth Nebula is 2 jumps from here. Heavy radiation, sensor interference. If we can reach it, they will follow. But they'll have to follow blind. And I know that nebula. Spent 6 months hiding in it after Margot. He stopped, refocused. I know it. They don't. Vaelith studied his face. You would risk your life, for me. Your crew. He engaged the jump drive. Crew doesn't leave crew behind. The first jump was rough. The second was worse. By the time they hit the nebula's edge, the Margoti was screaming warnings from half its systems, and the Velanthi ships were close enough to fire ranging shots. Kira dove into the nebula's swirling chaos, navigating by memory and instinct through corridors of ionized gas and radiation flares. The Margoti groaned and shuddered, but she held. She always held. They're still following, Vaelith reported. 2 ships, the third is hanging back. They're hurting us, trying to push us toward the core where the radiation's strongest. Kira's hands flew over the controls. We need to lose them in the drift. The drift? Asteroid field. Runs through the nebula's heart. I used to mine there back when I had a different ship and a different life. There's a cave system in one of the larger rocks, big enough to hide the Margoti, shielded enough to mask our signature. The asteroids materialized from the radiation fog like ancient stone sentinels. Kira weaved between them, closer and closer to the massive iron core rock he remembered, praying the entrance was still there, still passable. It was. He killed the engines, let momentum carry them into the darkness, and held his breath. Minutes passed. The Velanthi ships swept by, their sensors blind in the interference. Once. Twice. Third time. Then they were gone, pulling back toward the nebula's edge to wait. Kira exhaled. His hands were shaking. We're trapped, Vaelith said quietly. They will wait, they are patient hunters. Then we wait too. He unstrapped from the seat, moved to the emergency supplies locker. Air recycler can give us 3 weeks. Food's tight, but we can stretch it. 3 weeks. She rose, followed him. And then we figure something out. We always do. Kira. Her hand caught his arm. Her grip was stronger than he'd expected, her skin warm now where it had been cool before. Why are you doing this? Truly. You could surrender me. They would let you go. You could live. No. You do not even hesitate. Because there's nothing to hesitate about. He turned to face her. 3 years ago I lost everything that mattered. I've spent every day since then just existing. Moving from place to place, fixing things, never stopping long enough to think. And then I found you on that platform and something woke up. Something that still knows how to care. I am not your daughter. No. You're not. And I'm not trying to replace her. He reached up, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers brushed the silver scars on her cheek. You're Vaelith. You're crew. And you matter. Not because of what you were or what you could be, just because you're you. Her golden eyes glistened. I do not know how to be this. What you offer. My people do not form bonds this way. We calculate advantage, assess power, forge alliances through ritual and contract. Then don't be your people. Just be you. Just be here. What if I do not know who that is anymore? Then we figure it out together. She kissed him. It wasn't passionate, not yet. It was something more fragile, a question asked with lips instead of words. Kira answered as gently as he could, his hands cradling her face, feeling the tears that slipped down her cheeks. When they broke apart, she pressed her forehead to his. I am afraid, she whispered. For the first time in years, I have something to lose. Me too. He pulled her closer. But that's what makes it matter. They stood there in the darkness of the asteroid cave, 2 people who had lost everything, holding on to each other like the universe might try to tear them apart. It probably would. But not tonight. On the 17th day, Vaelith made her decision. Kira woke to find her standing at the communications array, her fingers hovering over the controls. She wore one of his shirts, too big for her slender frame, and her silver-scarred skin seemed to glow in the dim light. What are you doing? What I should have done years ago. She turned to face him. I am going to challenge my brother, Vaelith, hear me. She crossed to him, took his hands in hers. In Velanthi law, a member of the royal bloodline cannot be stripped of status without formal denunciation before the High Council. My brother imprisoned me, tortured me, sold me, but he never completed the ritual. He was afraid of what I might say. Afraid of the truth. What truth? That he killed our father. That he seized power through murder and deceit. I have no proof. It died with the witnesses he silenced, but I have my voice. And I have my blood. She squeezed his hands. The hunters out there. They are waiting for my brother's command. But if I broadcast a formal challenge, invoke the ancient rite of Vaelith Koth, they cannot touch me. They would be bound by law to escort me to the homeworld for trial. A trial where your brother controls everything. Yes. But not everything. She smiled. A real smile, the first he'd ever seen from her. He does not control the people. The common Velanthi, the lower houses, they loved our father. They remember what the ascendancy was before my brother's cruelty twisted it. If I can reach them, speak to them, you could start a revolution. Or die trying. Yes. Kira was quiet for a long moment. What happens to us? You would not be harmed. I would ensure it. You would be free to go. That's not what I meant. She touched his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. I know. Then don't go. We can find another way. Leave Velanthi's space, find some colony on the edge of nowhere, and spend our lives hiding? Running? She shook her head. That is not who I am. That is not who you helped me remember I could be. You taught me that broken does not mean finished. That there is strength in gentleness and choosing kindness when cruelty is easier. I want to bring that to my people. Even if it kills you, especially then. She kissed him softly. Some things are worth more than survival. You taught me that too. Kira pulled her close, held her tight, and made a decision of his own. Then I'm coming with you. Kira, your crew. Crew doesn't leave crew behind. He pulled back, met her eyes. Besides, someone has to keep your ship running. The Velanthi probably don't know the first thing about proper maintenance. You would enter the heart of an empire that despises your species. You would stand before a tyrant who commands armies. For me, I bought your freedom for 12 credits. I'm not letting that investment go to waste. She laughed, actually laughed. A sound like bells and starlight. You are impossible. So I've been told. Broadcast went out an hour later. Vaelith's voice strong and clear, speaking ancient words that hadn't been uttered in 3 centuries. The hunter ships responded immediately. Not with weapons, but with a formal acknowledgement. The rite had been invoked. They were bound. The journey to the Velanthi homeworld took 6 days. 6 days in which Kira learned everything Vaelith could teach him about her people, their customs, their weaknesses. 6 days in which they planned and strategized and occasionally just held each other in the darkness of the cockpit. The homeworld was beautiful and terrible, a planet of crystal spires and silver seas, ruled by a man who had killed his own father for power. Kira stood beside Vaelith as she descended from the Aya Margote, his hand in hers, facing a crowd of thousands. The trial lasted 3 days. Vaelith spoke of truth. Her brother spoke of tradition. The High Council deliberated, weighed, judged. In the end, it was not the council that decided. It was the people. The common Velanthi who filled the streets, who chanted Vaelith's name, who remembered what their empire had been, and could be again. When her brother tried to have her silenced, they rose up. When he called for guards, the guards refused. By the 3rd dawn it was over. The tyrant was in chains, and Vaelith stood before the eternal throne. She could have taken it. The crown was hers by right in revolution. Instead, she turned to the council and spoke. I do not want your throne. I want your promise. Reform this empire. End the practice of selling our own people like cargo. Open dialogue with the humans and the other species we have dismissed as lesser. Build something worthy of our ancestors. And if we refuse, the eldest counselor asked, then I will return. With my human. And we will be considerably less patient. Council agreed. Whether from wisdom or fear, Kira never knew. Later, in the gardens of the palace that had once been her prison, Vaelith found him watching the twin suns set over the crystal spires. You could have ruled, he said. I could have, but that was never what I wanted. She slipped her hand into his. I wanted to matter. To make something better. To find someone who saw me as more than my blood or my crown. She looked at him. I found that in a cargo bay on a salvage ship, from a man who paid 12 credits for a princess. 12 credits was all I had. It was everything. She turned to face him fully. Stay with me, Kira Voss. Not as a consort, not as a political asset. As my partner. As my equal. As the man who fixed something in me that I thought was irreparably broken. I'm a human. Your people will talk. Let them talk. Let the whole galaxy talk. She smiled, and it was like watching a sunrise. I was worth a planet. You were worth more. Kira kissed her, there in the garden, under alien suns, surrounded by the whispers of a revolution they had sparked together. The Margote stayed in orbit around the Velanthi homeworld for years afterward, a strange little salvage ship among the crystal battlecruisers. Kira never stopped fixing things. There was always something that needed repair, something broken that could be made whole. The most important thing he ever fixed wasn't a ship or a system. It was a princess who had forgotten she was worth more than 12 credits. And she in turn had fixed him right back. The end key YouTube description, 1,000 characters. On a dirty fringe auction block, a Velanthi woman is sold, as is, for 10 credits. Royalty reduced to a political liability with suppression cuffs and dead eyes. Kira Voss, a broke human salvage tech still mourning the daughter he couldn't save, bids 12 to Tori. He doesn't buy a servant. He buys her freedom. Her name is Vaelith, and the silver markings on her skin are scars left by her own people. High princess betrayed by her brother, erased from records, and dumped into slavery to disappear. Kira offers a cot, a meal, and something she hasn't felt in years. Being treated like crew. Then the Velanthi hunters arrive. Instead of running forever, Vaelith invokes an ancient rite that forces a public trial, and turns a private rescue into a galaxy-shaking rebellion. Kira follows her into the heart of an empire that despises humans, ready to die beside the woman he freed for 12 credits. Because she was never worth a bid. She was worth a planet. An HFY sci-fi drama about dignity, chosen family, and the kind of courage that changes empires. Key keywords: HIFI, FICI-FI, alien princess, alien royalty, slave auction, human salvage tech. Bought her freedom, 12 credits, Velanthi, Vaelith, Kira Voss, space drama, political intrigue, rebellion, empire reform, chosen family. Enemies of empire, interspecies bond, redemption, grief healing, humanity fuck, yeah.